Hello again, viewers. Welcome back on board and welcome to yet another video podcast. Now, today I have a COVID-19 special for you, and I wanted to have a discussion with you guys about why the novel coronavirus has had such a huge impact on the aviation industry and in such a short period of time. So stay tuned. Now, of course, the number of families and individuals whose travel plans have been disrupted and turned upside down by COVID-19 certainly cannot be counted on one hand. Now, the novel coronavirus has certainly proven to be one of the most powerful, destructive natural phenomena to ever occur, certainly in my 18-year lifespan. And unfortunately, to this date, tens of thousands of people have lost their lives to COVID-19. And that in turn affects many families, loved ones, friends, and other individuals in various significant ways. But of course, the one industry that is supposed to connect these families, loved ones, friends, and various individuals has taken a massive blow in the last 3 months, certainly. But why? Why is the aviation industry, such a strong industry that connects the world, taken such a massive hit? What is it about the novel coronavirus that has done this to the aviation industry? Well, first of all, we have to understand, what is COVID-19? What is the novel coronavirus all about? Why is it so destructive? Well, first of all, it's a virus. And it's one of the viruses, the SARS viruses. For example, the SARS pandemic that occurred in the early 2000s was caused by one of these coronaviruses. And these viruses are very powerful in the sense that they can survive on surfaces for a very long period of time. And unfortunately, the way we as humans interact with the world around us, in terms of traffic, we go through areas with high human traffic, so lots of people touching different surfaces and touching each other as well. This virus can be very easily transmitted from person to person. But who does it affect? Now, usually viruses like these, they affect the two extremes. So we have the very young and we have the elderly. And of course, unfortunately, we've seen a newborn baby very recently that passed away from this, and very many elderly individuals have also lost their lives to COVID-19. But we are also seeing younger people in their 20s, 30s, 40s who are also catching this virus and either having a very, very nasty experience with it in hospital or even dying from it too. So this virus is actually much more destructive and powerful than we would have thought in the first place. And also the fact this virus is novel. We don't know anything about it, really. It's a new virus that we haven't had a chance to develop vaccines for. We haven't had a chance to do much research, and which is why scientists all around the world are trying to gain funding to do as much research as possible on the novel coronavirus. Now, of course, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson himself caught this virus a couple of days ago, and from what we hear now, he is stable in hospital talking to staff, but we can see that basically anyone can catch this virus, and it's a matter of luck, it's a matter of your strategies and how you go about your daily life, which is going to dictate how likely it is for you to catch this. Now, speaking of likelihood, the aviation industry is a form of public transport which involves transporting usually hundreds of people at a time in, unfortunately, a very confined space. And also that confined space consists of air that has usually been recirculated around the cabin. So usually it's the same air that we're all breathing at the same time. Now, unfortunately, if someone is carrying this coronavirus and they do sneeze or cough, water droplets are released into the air, and these are so tiny that you can't really see them. And they can be spread around the air of the cabin very quickly. And very, very, very suddenly, almost every person in that cabin is breathing those droplets. Now, not to scare you from ever taking an aeroplane in the future to go on holiday, it's just that in this current climate, it's been proven that having coronavirus in the air, on surfaces that lots of people are touching at a time, unfortunately, this method of travel is too dangerous in the current environment. Of course, what does that mean? That means governments have implemented bans on travel and flow of people between different countries. For example, the US has stopped all foreign flights coming into the US, and other countries have done similar things. So, unfortunately, what happens now is it's no longer viable for an airline to operate all of its routes across all of its network using all of its fleet. So airlines have had to ground their fleet. Now, we've had airlines grounding maybe 70 to 100% of their fleet, which means, of course, they're losing out on a lot of revenue and income. And back to this term viability, it's no longer viable for them to be running the airline anymore. EasyJet, for example, have grounded their entire fleet across Europe, which means their airline is no longer running at the moment. British Airways have over 80% of their fleet grounded. They are no longer operating flights out of London Gatwick and are only operating out of London Heathrow at a very reduced rate, only across limited routes around Europe. And most of the flights that are operating out of London Heathrow through BA are mostly repatriation flights, which means bringing Britons back home from abroad, from foreign countries, who have been affected and quarantined due to COVID-19. Now, let's go back to this term viability, which I mentioned a few times now. Airlines across the globe have reduced routes, reduced networks, reduced fleet. And unfortunately, it does cost airlines a lot of money to run just one aircraft. They have to pay money for fuel, they have to pay operating costs, airport taxes, landing fees. They have to pay for everything, even their parking space, like we pay for when we go down the shops or into town or whatever. It's not quite putting a pound into a meter, but it's along the same lines. And unfortunately, an airline cannot pay that much money for just one aircraft when only one person maybe is going to be taking a flight which should be able to accommodate maybe 400 or so passengers. So it's no longer viable. So, of course, at this time, with COVID-19 affecting millions of lives around the world, whether you've got the virus or not, of course, loved ones want to get back home, or they want to travel to other countries to see if their families are safe or not. But unfortunately, due to fleets being grounded, this is no longer possible. But why is it happening? Why are airlines succumbing to grounding their fleets? Well, you might say, well, I thought you just said that they have to. Well, really, it has to be a global effort to stop COVID-19. The fact that airlines have grounded their fleets and have stopped flights going in and out of airports and to countries abroad, it does stop people traveling. And I'm sure, and I'm not an analyst or scientist in any way in terms of epidemiology and how viruses spread, but I'm sure anyone will know that if people were still being able to use air transportation to travel around the globe, then this virus would have spread much more quickly than it is doing now. So the fact that airlines are agreeing to stop flights in and out of airports, to ground their fleets, is a very good effort in terms of delaying the spread of the coronavirus. Now, of course, in terms of business for flights, the news is very bleak. It's very grim, and many airlines around the world are having to ask for financial aid from governments to bail them out so that they can continue running. And even the massive airlines such as British Airways, EasyJet, which is the biggest airline in the UK, has the largest number of destinations is having to ask for financial aid from governments to keep them going. And they're, of course, having to lay off staff as well with no pay because they simply do not have the funds to pay them. And lots of people have been complaining, saying this is absolutely unacceptable. We need our jobs. We're not going to get paid, which is very true. And of course, we sympathise with them. But unfortunately, the case is with such a virus is that we all have to pull together as an entire globe, as an entire community, to delay the transmission of the virus. So that's it on my COVID-19 special. This is why the aviation industry has really fallen into an awful time due to the novel coronavirus. And we are, of course, with all of the employees of airlines around the world who have been affected by the virus. And of course, with all the families, friends, loved ones, and individuals who are being directly affected by the virus, if they've caught it, or if they are family members of someone who has caught it. This is, of course, a very difficult time, and we are with them. So I hope you enjoyed that short video podcast on an insight into the aviation industry and COVID-19. And I look forward to welcoming you back on board next time. Hello viewers, thanks for checking out my latest video. I hope you found that interesting and enjoyable. If you did, smash that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and if you would like me to cover any other subjects, topics or issues, please feel free to leave a comment down below and I'll do my very best to get that uploaded as soon as possible. Now, as always, I do look forward to welcoming you back on board very soon indeed. Have a fantastic day.